Hello everyone, this is Winter Alliance, and I'm back with another video. So today I'm going to be showing you how I make a sort of Bassnectar style bass, or something you might find in a more West Coast style bass music track. And the synth we'll be using in this video today will be Antidote by Synapse Audio, so you will need the rack extension for this video. So this is kind of a weird sound with lots of interesting automation and modulation and sound design, which is why I thought it'd be an interesting and informative video for you guys. As I said before, you will need Antidote for this patch, the rack extension, and because we'll need its unison spread features and the multiple voices that are available inside of the synth. Alright, so the first thing we'll do is create a combinator, like usual. And I'm just going to drop in a line 62 mixer, just in case I ever want to do some automation. Alright, so right click and create a Synapse Audio Antidote synth. So let's go ahead and initialize the patch. So the first you're going to be doing is putting this first oscillator at -12 semitones. So that's one octave down. Going to put it on the fat saw wavetable with the modifier all the way up, so it gives us sort of a saw sound. Let me go ahead and solve that. Just going to put that over there. You're going to put the voice count at 3. You're going to put the detune all the way up and the spread all the way up. What this is going to do is take the voices of the synth, which we have these 3 detune copies, and spread them out through the stereo field. So now it sounds like this. And that's what's going to be creating the phasing and modulation for this sound. Alright, so for oscillator 2, bring the semitone all the way down to -24, so that'd be 2 octaves down. Take the detune and the spread all the way up, put the modifier at 52. And actually don't forget to put this on the digital saw waveform. So now our sound sounds like this. And as you can hear, the extreme detuning its unison spread of the synthesizer creates a sort of weird phasing modulation with the synth. Alright, so for the mixer, bring oscillator 2 down slightly, bring oscillator 1 down slightly, and oscillator 2 up slightly, and put the detune drift at 22. Next, let's go ahead and add a little bit of equalization. So click this right here, bring the mid frequency down to 750, the gain a little bit down to 2.8, and the Q up to 2.2. So now it sounds like this. So the final thing we're going to do for this synth is go to the compressor, turn it on, leave the ratio, just bring it up a little bit, bring the threshold down, bring the attack up slightly, and just leave the release. Just bring it down to about 4.7. What this will do is allow the transients to go through in the beginning of the synth, but then it'll just kind of squash the actual sound. If you want more information about how to use compression, I made a video on it a while back and also made one on multiband compression that is worth checking out. Alright, so that's all for the synth. Now let's go ahead and create a soft tube saturation knob. Turn on keep low so it doesn't affect the bass frequencies. And bring it up to around 5.8. And what that does is it distorts the sound quite a bit. And it also makes it a little bit louder. And if you don't have the saturation knob, you can always use the Scream 4 on tape distortion mode to get a similar kind of effect. Now the next effect that we're going to do is add a compressor. And I actually just got the soft tube FET compressor, so we'll be using this one. Just because I really like the way it sounds on the synth. So bring the ratio down to 4:1, leave the attack and release where they're at, and bring the output gain up to around 5.5. What this will do is really squash the sound and level out the frequencies. Alright, so for the final thing, what we're going to do on the synth is go up to the equalizer, make sure to turn it on, going to cut out some of the bass frequencies up to around 82, and then we're going to take a little bit of this low mids and just scoop it out slightly with a few decibels, just to remove a little bit of the mud. Okay, so that's the synth finished, but now I want to show you the modulation that I did because that's what gives this sound its really interesting characteristic. So the main modulation parameter that I did was I took the semitone knob on oscillator 1 and I modulated it to move up and down to play the main melody. Let me go ahead and just zoom in here a little bit. So what you can see is the semitone's moving up and down to play this sort of pitched melody, while the first oscillator stays in the same position. And just go ahead and watch this right here. And with the one oscillator that's phasing and this one not, it creates an interesting modulation, a really interesting phasey distorted sound. There's also a few other parameters I modulated. I went to the voice count. I just right click on it. And then what I did was I made these little fills right here where it drops out. So I bring the voice count down to 0 on this, so it basically turns off the oscillator. So just add a little bit of extra flavor. Now the next modulation that I did was I automated the level of the sub oscillator for oscillator 1. Now what this does is it brings up this oscillator that's, I think, either 1 or 2 octaves below this first oscillator. It's just a saw waveform, and it creates a nice distorted sound, again, just to add variation. And you can really hear this here. So you can kind of hear before, sounds like this. And with that, sub-oscillator sounds like this. So what that does is just creates an extra distorted texture below the synth, just to add a little bit of variation. And just so you can see the melody, all I have here is going from the root note G. Yes, it's G up to this higher G, just to add a little bit of variation. That's pretty much it. So the main melody is actually done by this modulation, rather than actually playing it out inside of the sequencer. Alright, so that's all for today. If you liked the patch, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. And as always, if you have any sort of questions, feel free to drop me a comment or hit me up on Twitter or something. I'd love to help you out. And thanks guys, and see you all next time.